The Maine Warden Service K9 team travels throughout Maine to bring missing persons to safety and to protect our natural resources. I'm Katie Yates, and in this special bonus season of Fish and Game Changers, I'm running with the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife's K9 team. Currently, there are 9 handlers on the Maine Warden Service K9 team. Handlers work side by side with their trusted K9s, developing a bond that is essential to their success. When the K9s are not working, you can find them doing normal dog things, like chasing balls, swimming, or looking for treats. K9s live in their handlers' homes and are part of the family, even after they retire. For this 3-part series, I'm hanging out with some of the wardens on our K9 team and their dogs to learn more about what they do and how they train. Let me take you back to a few weeks ago, before the quarantine measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 or coronavirus. It's a crisp March morning, a little frosty, with snow still covering the ground. I'm meeting up with some of our K9 team for a relaxed training session near our Summer Haven shooting range in Augusta, Maine. During the training session, Landowner Relations Corporal Dave Shabbat and handler to K9 Ruby pretends to be a lost hiker for Warden Chad Robertson and his K9 Storm. After a bit of hunting through the woods, Storm tracks down Dave.
He brought you exactly where he needed to bring you. Stormy! Stormy Pants! Wait, no, I picked...
For his good work, Storm receives a high-reward toy and, as Dave puts it, showers of glittery praise.
Actually, I give the dogs all my glitter. Here, Storm. Awesome! No Stormy Pants! I don't pick it up.
For these guys, it never gets old, and their dogs couldn't be happier. Tails wagging, ears flopping, and happy panting. In this trial run, it's all fun and games. I don't think these dogs know they're working, but their jobs couldn't be more important. This work is potentially life-saving, so it's vital that their skills and their noses stay sharp. K9s on the team are trained to track down the trail of a person by using that person's individual scent, like how Storm tracked down Dave. The dogs are also trained to sniff the air for any human scent, and in the event that the search has progressed to a point where the lost person is likely deceased, the dogs are trained to detect human remains, a heartbreaking task that often provides much-needed closure for grieving families. Amazingly, the dogs can also locate objects with gunpowder residue. To learn more, I sit down with K9 Corporal Lucas Balanzo and his 4-legged partner, Breezy. So she goes home with you and is part of the family?
Yeah. So all of our dogs go home with us. They live with us. You can hear her now barking at the FedEx guy. Walking into the office here. She's all barking.
K9 Corporal Lucas Balanzo has been raising and training dogs his whole life. Growing up with a passion for hunting, he aspired to become a game warden at a young age. After college, he joined the Maine Warden Service in 2012. His professional aspirations and personal interests aligned when he became K9 Corporal 7 years later. So what kind of things do your dogs do?
It's four pretty big disciplines that require a lot of maintenance training and a lot of initial time to build up. Our primary mission for our dogs is search and rescue. By statute, we as game wardens are responsible for all search and rescue here in the state. Our search and rescue really consists of human remains searches, air scent searches, and tracking. We don't do any bite work or any aggression work or anything like that. No officer protection. Our dogs are very friendly and used for detection purposes only. So like
sniffing things out?
Yeah, sniffing things. So evidence detection is a huge thing for us. Anything, shell casings primarily, anything with human scent on it, any evidence related to any investigation. We assist a lot with other game wardens, criminal cases, fish and wildlife cases. So we do quite a bit with them. A lot of different.
Lucas explains the K9 team spends a lot of time on search and rescue, especially in the spring and summer months when the nice weather encourages more people to explore the outdoors. But search and rescue is not limited to hikers. Many of the lost individuals are children, people with disabilities, and older folks with Alzheimer's or similar conditions.
it gets quiet again. So summer's usually our busiest time just because the weather's better. People are outside and getting lost in the woods, wandering off. And snow seems to kind of confine people. They don't trudge too far through a couple feet of snow. So usually once we lose snow cover, it's pretty indicative that search season is going to get busy again. So
Lucas shares a few search and rescue stories with me.
There's a missing autistic person. And those are usually pretty high priority searches, people with mental disabilities. The person still hadn't been found. There was firefighters and family out. There was a ton of people on the ground searching for this person. He'd gone missing in the woods, and we landed there just before dark. Finally, like after 6 hours, I ran home, got my dog through uniform on, drove down there, got there, and it was pretty hectic. There was people everywhere. Talking to a couple of the searchers, and the supervisors on scene, trying to figure out what was going on, and we kind of narrowed down a general area where this person may have ended up. And we worked along this big brook drainage, and this pretty nasty, thick swamp, and there was this swale grass surrounding this brook that was like 6 feet tall, and all real thick alders. Just you'd sink up to your knees if you walked down in it. So I was just paralleling this edge, following this brook down, and the terrain kind of pushed you down in there. And I was about a mile and a half from the house, from his house where he was last seen, and there had been people already through there, like searchers already through there, checking the area and everything. And Breezy took off like a rocket out into this thick swamp. Like I couldn't even keep up with her. We were doing an air scent search because it had been so much time since he'd actually went missing. She took off out into the swamp.
By air scent search, Lucas is referring to the technique where the dogs are trained to buzz around off-leash, searching the air for human scent to track.
You would never in a million years think somebody would go in there. And I'm like, there's no way she's in there unless the guy's in there. Like he's got to be here. And just reading the dog, I knew that she was in human scent and she was close. Like there was somebody here. I couldn't even see like 3 feet in front of me. It was so thick.
Following her powerful nose, Breezy took off into a thick swamp. And despite Lucas's disbelief that anyone would accidentally find their way through this seemingly impassable terrain, he knows to trust his dog.
I could hear Breezy crashing through the swamp and breaking sticks, and all of a sudden it just stopped. Like I couldn't hear anything anymore. I'm like, where'd she go? So I continued walking in the direction I last heard her, and I found her stuck in this mud hole. Like just her head or her ears were sticking up. Like she was like in quicksand. It was like a cartoon almost. And I couldn't believe it. She was completely stuck in this mud hole, like suction cupped in there, and she couldn't get out. And she like just looked at me like, help. So I stepped, I was wet up to my waist. I grabbed her, pick her up, and she took off again with her head up. I'm like, oh, this guy's right here. He's got to be right here. So I yelled out, called out, didn't hear anything back. So Breezy went out of sight. It was just so thick, and then all of a sudden she just starts barking. I'm like, oh my God, she's got him. He's right here. And so I get out of the mud hole. I tripped and fell. It was a mess getting to him. It was just nasty. And Breezy, no doubt. And I would have walked right by the guy. There was a dog that saved him. There he was. He was curled up hiding. Talked to him for a while, talked him out. We walked him out of there. Finally got him to a nearest road. We walked down probably a half mile back to an ATV trail that we got him out. But, there was hundreds of people there that day. And then, within an hour of putting the dog to work, we had him. So it just shows how efficient a well-trained canine is when it comes to, you can do the work of 100 people in a fraction of the time using a dog's nose. And, our team members and dogs have had so many good finds like that, saves.
Corporal Dave Shabbat, the warden you heard earlier screaming with joy at Stormy Pants, shares a similar success story that also happened to be his canine Ruby's first search.
Fed Ruby, she's going to be 10 here, so 10 years. I'll remember her first find. It was a little autistic girl that had been missing for 8 hours, and I'd got called up at 11 o'clock at night. There are people all through the woods. There's police cars parked up and down the road. It's cold out. This little girl had not been found. Dogs had been looking for her. People had been looking for her. And went and got her little shoe and gave it to Ruby and took Ruby out of the truck. And all of a sudden Ruby just starts going down the road, right past all the police cars, right past everybody. And, people tell me, no, she was last seen out back of this house. I'm like, oh, I don't know. My dog's taking me down this way. here I am, I'm trying to pull Ruby through the shrubs and stuff to get out into the lawn, and I'm like, come on, Ruby, let's go. And I remember shining the flashlight back at her, and she's licking this little girl's face. We didn't go a football field, 100 yards. She took a left-hand turn, went down the ditch, and there's this little girl literally within sight of everybody else. Ruby's like, you want this kid? You want her? If you don't want her, we'll keep going. But this is the one we're looking for. So, that was the very first find. I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. To be able to literally just walk past everybody, and we're still within sight of all the lights and all the people, and
That close.
nobody, this little girl had been out for, 8 hours, and yeah, we were able to recover her that evening. So that was really neat. And then, I can't even count of all she's been very successful. So she's earned her keep.
Mm-hmm. Saved a lot of lives that way.
Yeah, we've saved lives, it's a great feeling, and and unfortunately we've had the bad side of it as well. Where the person wasn't there to be saved. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's good for the family, though.
Yep. Yeah. Either way, we still provide some type of closure, either good or bad.
Game warden Chris McCabe's K9 Morgan is a trained cadaver dog.
Cool. She's able to tell you so much without being able to say anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, like, you always think, and once you've been with them a long time, you can kind of read them. I mean, it's like anyone that owns a pet, like, when they have to go outside, when they want to be fed, like, you can all read that. And it's no different when you're working your dog on articles or human remains. Like, when we're going through the woods, like, I can tell when she's just, like, kind of doing her own thing, what we call crittering, like looking for, like, animal scat or anything like that. You can tell from their behavior. But then once she gets into, like, a live human scent, she just takes off and her tail starts going like a helicopter. And you can just tell right off the bat that she's on something. So you got to pick it up. Mm-hmm. And usually that's a good feeling, because that something's nearby.
Yeah. That's such a good partnership.
It's just like exactly what your dog's doing. And like you said, they can't talk to you. So it's that amazing bond that you have with them. Yeah, so like our dogs, like part of the human remains detection is like we do land and water cadaver. So they're two separate trainings and they're two separate certifications. So like Morgan is trained on both land and water. So we actually do look for drowning victims or anything like that, which is really...
So she can tell from in the water somehow?
Yeah, like it's just kind of crazy to think that a dog can find a body in the water.
Underwater.
But really when you think of the science of it and gases coming out, the dog's noses are so sensitive to that they can easily pick that up. And our dogs work off the bow of a boat, and they'll indicate by just laying down or sitting and barking, whatever their indication is. With Morgan being a human remains detection dog, I mean, there's obviously like the highs and lows of finding human remains, but it always makes you feel better to know that you can bring closure to a family. So we've been fortunate enough to help out on many of those searches and find people, and then always finding the live people. Some of the better ones are the ones where you can obviously bring them home.
Even these hardworking dogs have their downtime, like going to events with their handlers. At these social functions, Chris's K9 Morgan demonstrates a different type of detection. Years of attending events with her handler have taught K9 Morgan that sometimes baby strollers come with a free snack.
Our dogs are not vicious because we want them to find people and we want them to be approachable. So that's why we do take them to a lot of events. We take them to sportsman shows throughout the state or out of state even, and we'll bring them and they'll participate, and they usually seem to be the biggest hit. They even though we've been on national television, the dogs seem to be the bigger draw than we are.
People love dogs.
Yeah, I mean anyone loves dogs. Like, and my dog Morgan has learned over the years going to sportsman shows that she'll be fast asleep in the booth, and then as soon as for some reason she has the uncanny ability to know that a stroller's coming. And she'll pop up, and as soon as I see her pop up from a dead sleep, I know that there's a little kid coming, because she's figured out over the years that usually strollers mean that there's like drop food,
Crumbs,
or like snacks in the stroller. So she has this uncanny ability to go out and see the kids and stuff, which is really, really neat because it's obviously a cool interaction with them and the kids.
In part 2 of this series, I try to keep up with Dave and Ruby on a fast-paced training session through the woods. Then I sit down with Lucas, Dave, and Chris to talk about evidence detection. To learn more about the wardens featured in this series, visit mefishwildlife.com/changers. To stay current with new episodes of Fish and Game Changers, be sure to hit subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If your favorite app happens to be Apple Podcasts, be sure to give us a rating and let us know what you think.